As she opened her eyes, the harsh glare of the sun pierced through her lids. The sound of waves crashing against the shore echoed in her ears. Adanna sat up, coughing out salty water, her long black hair sticking to her face. She had no memory of how she got here, only that she had been on a boat, sailing to run an errand for her grandmother in a distant village, when a storm swallowed the vessel whole. Now she was here, stranded on an island surrounded by endless blue waters. Panic clawed at her chest. She scanned her surroundings, taking in the towering palm trees and dense jungle that stretched beyond the sandy shore. The island seemed deserted. But then, she felt it, eyes watching her. Adanna turned sharply, her heart pounding. Slowly, from behind the trees, figures began to emerge. One by one, men stepped into the sunlight. Dozens of them, hundreds. Their skin was dark, sun-kissed, their hair wild. Some were young, others old, but they all had the same look in their eyes, a mixture of curiosity, disbelief, and something else. She rose to her feet, her legs trembling. One man, taller than the rest, stepped forward. His face was lined with years of wisdom. He studied her before speaking. A woman after so many years. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Who are you?" Adanna demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. The man sighed. "We are the forgotten, men who were cast away, cursed to remain on this island for eternity. No woman has ever set foot here, until now." Adanna's stomach twisted. She had heard of cursed islands in the old stories, places where the lost never returned. The younger men stared at her with wide eyes, their gazes lingering too long. Others whispered amongst themselves, their voices low and urgent. "I must leave," Adanna said, stepping back. "I cannot stay here." The old man shook his head. "No one leaves the island, child. The sea will not let you go." Adanna's heart pounded in her chest. She could not stay, not alone, surrounded by desperate men who had not seen a woman in years. She turned to run, but a hand caught her wrist. "Stay," a voice pleaded. She looked up into the eyes of a young man, no older than herself. His face was kind, but there was something desperate in his gaze. "You don't understand," he whispered. "The island is alive. It chose you." Adanna yanked her hand free and sprinted toward the jungle. The men did not chase her, but she could feel their eyes burning into her back. The trees swallowed her whole, the thick canopy blocking out the sun. She ran until her legs gave out, collapsing near a stream. She cupped the cool water in her hands, trying to calm her racing heart. But then, a rustling sound made her freeze. She wasn't alone. The young man from before stepped out from behind a tree. "You can't run forever," he said softly. Adanna glared at him. "Watch me." He sighed, sitting on a rock nearby. "You're afraid." "Shouldn't I be?" she snapped. "I'm the only woman on an island filled with men." The young man hesitated. "Not all men here have good intentions, but not all of us are monsters." Adanna studied him warily. "Why are you helping me?" "Because I was once like you," he said. "Shipwrecked, trapped. But the island, it changes you." Adanna's breath caught. "How?" He hesitated. "It speaks. In dreams, it whispers things, promises. Some listen, others resist, but no one ever leaves." A cold chill ran down her spine. That night, as Adanna lay beneath the stars, the whispers began. Soft, gentle at first, then clearer. "Stay, live, rule." She pressed her hands to her ears, but the voice was inside her mind. The next morning, she woke with a strange feeling deep in her chest. The men stood at a distance, waiting, watching. And in that moment, Adanna realized the truth. The island hadn't cursed these men. It had been waiting. For her. Adanna stood at the edge of the jungle, the salty wind tangling in her hair. She could still hear the whispers from the night before. Soft, coaxing, insistent. The men watched her from a distance, some with awe, others with hunger. The elder who had first spoken to her stepped forward again, his deep-set eyes filled with something she couldn't place. "You have heard it, haven't you?" he asked. Adanna's pulse quickened. "The voice, the island?" He nodded solemnly. "It has chosen you." She wanted to deny it, to call it madness, but deep inside she knew the truth. The whispers had settled into her bones. A murmur rippled through the crowd of men. Some bowed their heads in reverence. Others clenched their fists. One man, tall, muscular, with scars along his arms, stepped forward, his jaw tight. "She is just a girl. She has no power over us." The elder turned to him, his expression hard. "And yet she is here." A tense silence followed. Adanna lifted her chin. "What do you mean, chosen?" The elder gestured for her to follow. She hesitated, but curiosity won. The young man from before, Kano, trailed behind her, his watchful eyes never leaving her. They walked through the jungle, past towering trees with twisting roots and strange flowers that pulsed like beating hearts. The deeper they went, the more she felt it, the island breathing around her. Finally, they arrived at a massive stone altar covered in ancient carvings. At its center lay a deep, shimmering pool, darker than the night sky. The air was thick with something unseen, something powerful. The elder spoke. Long ago, this island was ruled by a queen, a woman with a spirit so strong, the earth itself obeyed her. She kept balance, kept the men from tearing each other apart. He turned to Adanna, his eyes piercing. But she was betrayed, cast into the sea, and since then, the island has been waiting for her return. A chill ran down Adanna's spine. You think I'm her? No, the elder said, but the island does. The men knelt before her, their heads bowed, but not the scarred man. His fists were clenched, his body taut with anger. She is an outsider, he growled. I will not bow. Neither will my people. A low murmur spread through the group. The tension thickened like a storm ready to break. Adanna met his gaze. Then don't. The scarred man sneered. You think the island will protect you? You think you can rule men like us? He stepped closer, his presence suffocating. You are nothing but a girl lost at sea. Before she could react, he lunged. Adanna barely had time to move, but Kano was faster. He slammed into the scarred man, knocking him back. The two wrestled, fists flying, until the elder raised his hand. Enough! The scarred man spat blood onto the ground. This is a mistake, he hissed. You will all regret this. He turned and disappeared into the jungle. Adanna's breath came fast. What happens now? The elder's gaze darkened. Now, you must listen to the island. That night, as Adanna sat by the pool, the whispers returned, stronger than before. But this time, they spoke not just in words, but in visions. Flashes of a woman, draped in gold, her eyes glowing like the stars, men kneeling before her, and a throne made of bone and stone waiting for its queen. A voice, deep and ancient, whispered in her mind, You will rule, or you will perish. The choice had been made, and the island would not let her go. The island knows what will befall her if she isn't queen in such a savage island. The jungle was restless that night. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and something else, something electric. Adanna sat by the shimmering pool, her fingers tracing the ancient carvings on the stone altar. The whispers of the island had quieted, but they lingered in the back of her mind like an unfinished song. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Soft, careful. She turned sharply, expecting another of the men, perhaps Kano or even the scarred warrior seeking revenge. But instead, emerging from the shadows was someone she had never seen before. He was tall, with skin as rich as the earth and eyes that gleamed like embers in the moonlight. He looked like a warrior, but there was something else, something different. You're not one of them, Adanna said. Neither are you. His voice was deep, steady, with an accent she couldn't place. Who are you? She asked. He stepped forward, his gaze never leaving hers. Kofi. The name rolled off his tongue like an ancient secret. I've seen lots of men on this island. You don't look like any of them. That's because I don't belong to them, Kofi said simply. He glanced at the altar, then at her. But neither do you. Adanna felt her pulse quicken. There was something unsettling about him, not in the way the other men had made her uneasy, but in a way that made her heart pound for an entirely different reason. How did you get here? She demanded. Kofi chuckled, folding his arms across his chest. The same way you did. The sea brought me. But from the other side of the same island, though. She narrowed her eyes. You washed up here too? Not exactly. His smirk faded, his expression growing serious. I came willingly. Adanna stiffened. Why? Kofi stepped closer, his voice dropping lower. Because the island told me to. He let the words hang between them, watching her reaction. And now I understand why. Adanna swallowed. Why? His gaze bore into her. Because of you. A shiver ran down her spine. The island had whispered to her, called her, but could it have called him too? Before she could speak, a branch snapped in the distance. They both turned toward the jungle. Kano emerged from the shadows, his face tense. His eyes flickered between Adanna and Kofi, suspicion clouding his features. Who is this? Kano demanded, his hand gripping the hilt of the blade at his waist. Kofi smirked. A friend. Kano didn't look convinced. He stepped between them, his posture tense. You shouldn't trust strangers. Adanna folded her arms. Neither should you. Kano's jaw clenched. We don't know where he came from. Kofi's smirk didn't waver. And you don't know where she came from either. Silence stretched between them. The jungle rustled, the trees swaying as if they too were listening. Then a deep guttural sound echoed through the trees, a growl. Adanna's breath hitched. Kano's hand flew to his blade. Kofi, however, remained calm. His eyes gleamed with something almost amused. They've found us, he murmured. Who? Adanna whispered. Kofi turned to her, his expression unreadable. The ones who don't want you to take the throne. And then from the darkness, glowing eyes appeared, dozens of them. The island was awake. Adanna struggled to process the man's words. The throne is not yours to claim. She had never sought power. She had never even imagined herself in such a place. She was just a girl from a quiet village, unseen, unwanted, until now. The leader of the glowing-eyed men studied her with an intensity that sent a chill down her spine. You do not know who you are, he said. Adanna's fists clenched. Then tell me. The man stepped closer, his expression unreadable. You are the blood of the lost queen. Silence. The words felt impossible, but deep inside, something in her stirred. The queen who ruled this island was betrayed, the man continued. A group of men, power-hungry, jealous, rose against her. They feared her power, the way the island listened to her, so they turned on her, cast her into the sea. His eyes darkened. But what they did not know was that she was with child. Adanna's breath hitched. She should have died, the man went on. But the sea does not take those it still needs. The waves carried her away, far from here. She gave birth before she succumbed to the wounds of her betrayal. And that child's blood has continued, generation after generation. His gaze locked onto hers. Until you. Adanna shook her head. That's not possible. She stopped, because in truth she had never belonged anywhere. She had been raised in a small village, orphaned at a young age. Her father had died mysteriously before she could even remember his face, and her mother had never been spoken of. She was left with her stepmother, a bitter woman who never let her forget that she was nothing more than an unwanted burden. Every day had been a struggle. She was made to fetch water before dawn, cook meals she was never allowed to eat her fill of, and work until her hands blistered. When she asked about her mother, she was met with silence. Or worse, a sharp slap and a warning to never ask again. The only thing she had ever truly owned was a small pendant, passed down to her with no explanation. A silver shell, its surface etched with strange symbols. She had never understood its significance. Now, as she stood before these men on this cursed island, she wondered if it had been calling her all along. Kano shifted beside her, his voice uncertain. If this is true, if she really is the descendant of the queen, she is, the leader confirmed. The island would not have brought her here otherwise. Kofi, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. Then that means the island is not just testing her. His eyes met Adanna's. It's trying to protect her. Adanna took a shaky breath. She had spent her whole life being told she was nothing, that she would never matter. But here, on this island that whispered to her, called to her, she was something more. And the men who had betrayed her ancestor, their descendants were still here, watching, waiting. Centuries ago, before the island became a prison for the forgotten, Queen Luna arrived in the same way Adanna had, shipwrecked, alone, and vulnerable. She had been the daughter of a powerful kingdom, but war had torn her home apart. Betrayed by those she trusted, she was cast into the sea, left to perish in the raging waters. But the island, an ancient living force, had other plans. The island did not take all who washed ashore. Many had come before her, swallowed by the waves, their bones scattered beneath the sands. But Luna was different. She awoke on its shore, dazed, terrified, and surrounded by men who had not seen a woman in decades. The forgotten. They were divided into clans, each more ruthless than the last. The strongest among them were the Goru, a brutal tribe that thrived on violence, lawlessness, and dominance. And the moment they laid eyes on Luna, they saw not a lost soul, but prey. That night, as darkness cloaked the island, the leader of the Goru, Mazun, made his move. He and his warriors surrounded Luna, their eyes filled with hunger, not for food, but for something far worse. She had nowhere to run, no weapon to fight with. But before Mazun could lay a hand on her, the ground beneath them trembled. The island, silent until that moment, awoke. The trees groaned, their roots twisting unnaturally. The air thickened, pressing down on the men like an unseen force. Then came the voice, a deep, whispering sound that spoke not with words, but with power. The island had chosen her. Mazoon and his men fell back, their bodies trembling as an unseen energy forced them to their knees. Luna, the only one left standing, felt the warmth of something ancient wrap around her like an embrace. The island had spoken, and the message was clear. Harming her was impossible. The men had no choice but to obey. The island had given Luna a new title, Queen Luna. The years passed, and Queen Luna ruled, not with fear, but with wisdom. She understood that alone she could not survive, so she sought allies among the clans. And among them was a man who would change everything. His name was Jabari. He was of the Veyan clan, a people known for their discipline, honor, and unwavering sense of justice. Unlike the Goru, who thrived on destruction, the Veyan kept order, ensuring the island did not descend into complete savagery. Jabari was their greatest warrior. He was strong but fair, fierce in battle yet gentle in heart. While the other men stared at Luna with either fear or desire, he looked at her with something else, understanding. They spent many nights beneath the moon, speaking in hushed voices by the island's sacred waters. She told him of the world beyond the island, of great kingdoms and mighty cities. He told her of the island's past, of how it swallowed those it deemed unworthy and spared those who had purpose. In time, love grew between them. And when Queen Luna declared that she would marry Jabari, the Veyan rejoiced, but the Goru seethed. To them, Luna's power had always been an insult, a woman ruling over men. And now, for her to choose a warrior from the Veyan, their sworn rivals, was the final betrayal. Mazoon, who had never accepted Queen Luna's rule, saw his chance. On the night of their wedding, as the island sang its strange, whispering hymns, the Goru struck. They ambushed the gathering, their blades drawn, their eyes wild with fury. Blood spilled onto the sacred ground as the Veyan fought to protect their queen. Jabari, ever the warrior, stood his ground, cutting down every man who came for Queen Luna, but even he could not fight an army alone. In the chaos, Mazoon reached Queen Luna. His blade was swift, cruel, plunging deep into her side. The queen fell. The island, which had once protected her, trembled in rage. The waters surged, swallowing the Goru warriors who had taken part in the massacre. The earth split open, dragging the guilty into the depths. But it was too late for Queen Luna. Jabari, wounded but alive, carried his queen to the shore. The island whispered to him, telling him what he already knew. The sea would take her, but it would not take her alone. She was with child. With her last breath, Luna pressed a bloodied hand against Jabari's chest. Our child will return. And then the waves pulled her away. Jabari and the remaining Veyan searched for her, but she was never seen again. Some said the island had claimed her. Others whispered that she had been reborn beyond the waters. Jabari lived the rest of his life as a guardian of the island, ensuring that one day when the child of Luna returned, they would find the truth. And centuries later, that child had finally come, Adanna. Kofi, who had been listening to the tale, stepped forward, his eyes locked onto hers. Jabari was my ancestor, he said. Your blood and mine come from the same story. Adanna's heart pounded. The island had called her here, not by accident, but by destiny. The throne had always been hers. And now, history was repeating itself.
Hello, Your Highnesses. If you really enjoyed this story, please comment for part 2, like and subscribe to the channel. Bye.